Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this evening, Logan Landers, and joining me to talk about an NCAA game preview between the Michigan Wolverines and the Maryland Terrapins. As always, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing this afternoon, sir?
How you doing, Mr. Logan Landers?
I'm doing tremendous, sir. I can't wait to talk about this game. It's going to be a good one. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode here this evening, give us a like, a follow, a share, and of course, subscribe on our Facebook and YouTube channel so you don't miss a single bit of action. Of course, check us out on our podcast as well. Thanks to our friends at the Believe Podcast Network for helping us out. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or wherever it is you enjoy listening to your podcast. You can find us each and every single week. Well, let's get right into this one, Vincent. Let's talk about the number 3 ranked, undefeated Michigan Wolverines and what they can do to get the win against Maryland this upcoming weekend. Well, as we know with Michigan, the way it's been is that their on-the-field play has been taking a backseat to their off-the-field issues or scandals or what have you. But they proved that even without Coach Harbaugh on the sideline for the remainder of the regular season, they can still get it done. They got the big win last week, of course, when they faced off against Penn State. Got the win in that one. Close ball game. We knew it was going to be a tight one. 24-14 in the win. And they took care of business. That's what the great teams do. Going up against Maryland this week. And for Michigan, we all know this team. You look at this team, and they have a good 1-2 punch. J.J. McCarthy, 2,000-plus yards on the season. He got held in check last week. Wasn't able to do a whole lot. Hopefully he can bounce back this week. But on the season, though, he's got 18 touchdowns, 3 INTs. Been sacked 12 times. Blake Corum, he really helped out last week, Vincent. He was a really big factor. And then getting the win, at least getting some help on offense. 152 carries for the young man, 794 yards, a 5.2 average. And he's got 18 touchdowns, closing in on 20 for the season. Just absolutely beautiful work from him. And then the receiving game, you've got guys like Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Colston Loveland, Donovan Edwards, and A.J. Barner, just to name a few. All those gentlemen have over 200-plus yards receiving. All of them have over 15 catches. But we all know Roman Wilson is that true number 1 threat. He's got the most catches on the team. He's got the most yards. And, of course, he's got the most touchdowns. He's got 10. Now, when you look at Michigan, I mean, they've just been putting up some good work all in all. And I'll flip it over to their defense and what they've been able to accomplish. Obviously, they have been just phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. The game against Penn State last week, when they won 24-14 or 24-15, that was the most amount of points they given up in a game this season, Vincent. 15. So they've looked, I would say, pretty good, fairly dominant, to say so. It's hard to describe how good that Michigan Wolverine defense has been. I mean, they are living up to that moniker. They are Wolverines out there on that Michigan team in defense. I mean, you've got some absolute stars: Junior Colson, Michael Barrett, Ernest Hausman, Makari Page, Derek Moore. The list goes on and on. You got Josiah Stewart, Jalen Harrell, Mason Graham. I mean, this is a team that is just, they will grind you out. They've got 23 sacks as a team. They've got 12 INTs. They're able to do some work in the secondary. Thanks with Mike Santrissel, Keon Sabb, Will Johnson. I mean, if you look at this, I mean, we just finished talking about Georgia, Vincent, and how good their defense had been and how also has been in the past few seasons. But, man, Michigan just kind of seems to be on another level right now. And, you know, I mentioned that with all the things going on off the field with that program, it seems like they're kind of rallying. And they're kind of fighting right now. And they've got a little bit extra oomph, a little bit more fire in their stomach right now to go out there and prove everyone wrong and to just kind of just beat up on everyone. And that's what they did against Penn State, and that's what they're hoping to do against Maryland this weekend. What can Michigan do this weekend, Vincent, to remain undefeated and stay in that top 4 in the college football playoff rankings?
Well, I think basically the Wolverines are looking toward Thanksgiving weekend, Mr. Landers, Ohio State.
Yeah.
That's the game. Yeah. And if I had to take a winner in that football game right now, I'm saying Michigan going to beat Maryland. Before I get ahead of myself, I think they're going to beat Ohio State, and I think they're going to represent the Big Ten again in the college football playoffs. This is a football team that it's a lot of moving parts that's happening right now in Ann Arbor. And I go back to last year when I was on the road and I was visiting my sister in Nashville and they was playing TCU. And I looked at a football team that kind of let that window kind of close, because to me, they were a way much better football team than TCU, because you saw what happened to TCU in the college football national championship game.
Uh-huh.
Then you come into this year and you look at the college football landscape right now. And if you listen to every talk show, every social media post about college football, definitely everybody don't like Jim Harbaugh. That's evident. And then everybody's saying that Michigan is a cheating school. And what really amazes me, and I'm talking about several local sports shows here in the Metro Atlanta area where we broadcast from, in the surrounding states like South Carolina and Alabama, Logan, every school cheats, brother, in some way, shape, or form. But you're looking at Michigan, and I like what the running back Blake Corn said, who had 26 rushes for 145 yards last week in their big win over Penn State. It's us against the world. And he said this, along with their coach, the interim coach, Shawan Moore, who took over for Mr. Harbaugh. Coach Moore said, the best school in the nation, the best alumni in the nation, one of the best academic schools in the nation. Then he rolled off names like Anthony Carter, Braylon Edwards, Jim Manrich, Dan Diedorf, Reggie McKenzie, Lamar Woodley, Charles Woodson, and Tom Harmon. Then he ended the sentence and he was crying, Logan, on the field. And then he said, the greatest player that played in an NFL, Tom Brady. So, of course, the nation is going to be jealous of our coach. And when I look at it, one thing I like about Michigan, even though you brought up J.J. McCartney, didn't have a great game. He was 7-8 for 60 yards. He didn't turn the football over, but he did not throw a pass in the second half.
That's true.
And Michigan had 46 rushes for 227 yards in the game and averaged 4.9 yards a attempt. And I think in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, they rushed the football for 12 straight plays. And it was 6 of 13 on third downs, primarily running the football. And you mentioned a defense which is ranked, I think, the best in the nation. And they gave up only 74 yards in the passing game. The one thing I like about Coach Harbaugh, he said, and I saw this on a podcast, the Bussin' Boys out of Nashville with former Michigan tackle Tyler Lewan and Will Compton, that played linebacker with the Titans. Both Lewan and Mr. Compton were teammates with the Titans. They have a very successful podcast called the Bustin' Boys, I think. And they was on the Michigan campus. It was a charity golf tournament. And Logan, every Michigan player that they interviewed, from the quarterback, J.J. McCartney, to Blake Cornton, to Donovan Edwards, to Michael Barrett, they said the measuring stick was the University of Georgia. So what we got, and I hope it happens, the national championship game between Michigan and Georgia. Michigan has got a phenomenal football team. I'm not really going to buy in the fact what Coach Harbaugh did, if they were stealing sands or whatever. You still got to go out there and play. And at the end of the day, it's the Wolverines against the world, and I think they're the second best team in the country.
All right. Well said, Vincent. Well said. Well, let's talk about Maryland and see if they can pull off the upset of the century here and what they can do to just really get things all messed up. When you look at Maryland, it's a tale of two halves. When you look at their season, they started off the gate super hot, was on a 5-0 win streak, and then they faced off against the Buckeyes of Ohio State. They then rattled off 4 straight losses, came back last weekend, though. They beat Nebraska in a close one, 13-10, final score in that one. Jack House was doing some work there as the kicker to help them out in for the most part of that ball game. But when you look at Maryland, they do have some solid pieces, of course. To his younger brother, Talia Tagovailoa, he's got 2,769 yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Has been sacked 21 times, though. Whether that's a case of him just either not getting rid of the ball fast enough, or if his offensive line, got to have a little mixture of both when you look at that. The running game, you're led by Roman Embry, 109 carries for him, 515 in terms of yardage, 4.7 average per rush. He's got 4 touchdowns for him. And Colby McDonald behind him with 266 and 2 touchdowns on 40 carries on the year. Receiving game, you're led by Jashawn Jones. He's got 45 grabs for 607, 4 touchdowns for him. Ty Felton, 38 catches for 542 and 5 touchdowns. And your other guy, Caden Prather, 37 grabs, 523 and 5 touchdowns as well. The defense, this is really where they're going to have to play some of the best games of their life. You got to come prepped this week. Kellen White, your linebacker, he was leading your team in sacks. He's got 4.5. All in all, Maryland, they get to the quarterback a pretty solid amount, Vincent. They've got 28 sacks. They might have to get about 28 sacks if they want to pull off this upset this weekend. So they got to really just come out and ready to play. Leading tackler is defensive back Bo Braid. Led behind him is Mr. Ruben Hypolite II. Your linebacker, Dante Trader Jr. with 34 in third place for tackles on the year. When you look at their secondary, they've got some pretty solid players, 27 passes defended and 13 INTs. Obviously, when you look at that secondary, you look at guys like Tar Heap still. He's got 5 INTs. Glendon Miller, 3 passes knocked down, 2 interceptions. Dante Trader Jr.'s got 2 interceptions. Donnell Brown's got 2. So they're going to have to just control the clock, I think. Just milk it for all you can. Whenever you get an opportunity, you better just knock it down. You better get some offense rolling here. And for defense, like I said, you got to play the game of your life. Get ready for a heavy dose of Blake Corum because he's going to be running the ball all over the place. Like I said, they got to start punching balls out, Vincent. They got to get as many interceptions as they can. It's going to be an uphill battle. There's no sugarcoating it. It's going to be a tough matchup. What can Maryland do to maybe pull off the upset of the college football season?
Well, you know what? Maryland had lost 4 in a row before they had the big win over Nebraska last week. They became bowl eligible. Baby Tua, brother of the Mammoth Dolphins starting quarterback, Mr. Tua, he was 27 of 40 for 283 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 INT. And he's played pretty good since he's been at Maryland the last 2 seasons. They got 2 pretty good defensive players in Dante Trader, who had 2 interceptions last week, Tahib Steele, who had 2 interceptions last week. 2 outstanding defensive backs in the Big Ten. But that being said, the only thing that I can say that game is going to be close because they're playing in College Park, right, I believe. But this is a Michigan team that's focused. This is a Michigan team, as I just mentioned, is against the world. Their players are really riding that momentum. And Michigan's main goal is not only to beat Ohio State, their goal is to win the national championship. And hopefully they get Coach Harbaugh back, who's serving a 3-game suspension. It's just too much right now that's going on at Michigan that's going to not stop Michigan. They're playing too much at a high level, and right now it's a lot of emotions, and that football team is real close. And you got a coach, Jim Harbaugh, that is not liked on the national level, that's not like in the college football level, and it's not like in the National Football League. But you know what? They winning, and they answering the bell. And they are number 2 in the college football playoffs. And that's all I got to say. Michigan is going to win that football game in a very rugged style, running the football, 24-10.
All right. Sir, my final score in this one, I'm going to have the Michigan Wolverines getting the big win. I think that they'll have a good day on offense and keep having a dominant defense. So, unfortunately, Maryland fans might want to turn away for this one. I'm going to have Michigan get the big win, 38-7. I just think that I think they're rolling right now, Vincent.
Yes, sir.
Hey, look, no disrespect to Maryland. They got a solid team out there, but I just think that right now it's Michigan's time to shine. They've got everyone against them, and I think that, like you said, they're rallying right now, and they're looking forward ahead to the Ohio State next week. But as we've seen before, you don't want to take your eye off the ball too much because we have seen some crazy things happen in college football. But we want to hear from you, our fans. Will you have a big upset in the works this weekend, or will Michigan take care of business? We want to hear it in our comment page on Facebook or YouTube. As always, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, appreciate you coming on the show, talking some college football with me each and every single week. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Enjoy your weekend, everyone, and we'll talk to you again on another live episode. We'll see you soon.